What's going on, Packers fans? Welcome into our happy hour edition of the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Running on fumes, Coke Zero, and most importantly, Luigi's Pizza. Finally got my Parsons Victory Pizza for lunch. Heated up in the oven, ultra thin crust pepperoni, my favorite. It was delicious, as you would absolutely expect. My plan was to save half for the kids. I saved one piece for the kids, so they got to split it amongst themselves, but demolished the rest of it because I can't help myself. Once I start eating it, I can't stop, and it was delicious, as you would expect. Huge shout out to Luigi's for sponsoring our Pack-A-Day happy hours here on the Pack-A-Day podcast, of course. And if you have not tried Luigi's yet, man, you've got to get after it. Luigi'sPizza.com, at Luigi's Pizza on social media. They are the best, and you're missing out if you're not trying them. We've got about an hour to get through a lot of questions. I appreciate you guys being here. Obviously, it's been probably a little bit too much, Andy, over the last 24 hours. I had the opportunity to go live last night for about 4 hours, went live this morning to do a Q&A on all things Micah Parsons as well. We did learn something before I get into questions. We did get the official contract. There was some question, was it a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal? It's a 4-year extension. It's a 5-year deal. They still had the 5th-year deal, a 5th-year option that was basically on there, and then a 4-year deal on top of it. It amounts to a 5-year, $42 million deal. It's a great deal for Green Bay. You have to be pretty thrilled with that overall. You didn't know quite exactly what it was going to be until you saw it, but $42 million a year over 5 years. And as that contract goes down and the cap as the contract goes on and the cap continues to go up, that should ease the blow of it as well. This is a very attainable contract at 5 years, 42. And on top of that, I talked about this the other day. Zach Tom's extension, if that thing would have been $5 million more per year, wouldn't have batted a single eye at it. No question about it. They could have paid Zach Tom $5 million a year during that time frame, $5 million more per year, and I wouldn't have even thought twice about it. Not for a second. It's not exactly apples to apples. You can't just, take $5 million off of the Parsons contract because of that, but you do good deals elsewhere, and it pays off so that you can do good deals in these situations. I'm even more thrilled with the deal now than I was as this was happening just about 23 hours ago. So yeah, this is looking even better and better by the day. Yes, I will be at the press conference in just a little bit. It's going to be 5 p.m. for Brian Gutekunst, and then 6 p.m. for Micah Parsons. And the Packers have another Micah. Micah Robinson has signed back to the practice squad. So there he is as the, I think, final addition to the practice squad as well. So Micah Robinson on the practice squad. Sort of more importantly, Micah Parsons press conference coming up here in just a little bit. So yes, I will be there and looking forward to that. All right, with that, I will get to as many questions as I can over the course of the next hour or so. Gary Robinson, thank you for becoming a new member. Easy for me to say. Dan and Marcy, Will Little, Sappermac, Joe Horse 9968. Thank you guys all for becoming new members. Eugene, thank you for being a member for 23 freaking months. Really pleased about Micah Parsons, but what can the Packers do to stop the run with the loss of Kenny Clark? Let's talk through that a little bit. I think what you need to remember here is there's good news and there's bad news. Okay. Let's get the bad news out of the way. The bad news is that TJ Slayton was statistically one of the best run stop percentage defensive tackles in the league last year. Kenny Clark is a really good run defender. Even in a down year for him last year with the injuries, he was still a good run defender and was probably going to trend to be even better this year without the foot injury, right? So you no longer have TJ Slayton. You no longer have Kenny Clark. Those are two big-time run defenders in the middle of your defense. I do not think Green Bay has the bodies or the players to specifically replace those two. And I think it's going to be a bit of a problem. Don't think it's going to be catastrophic, but I think it's going to be a little bit of an issue. I like what Colby Wooden's done. I think he's holding up at the point of attack better. We need to see Devontae Wyatt, if he can hold up against the run and play more than the 400 snaps that he's playing basically this past year. We're going to need to see Carl Brooks be a better run defender. And if we're being honest here, right? All right, let's just really take this for a second. Devontae Wyatt is not shown to be a good run defender in his career. Carl Brooks is not really set up to be, he's a pass rushing 3 technique kind of guy. Okay. You're counting on an improved Colby Wooden and a 6th round rookie and an undrafted free agent rookie to kind of be your run stuffers on that interior of the defensive line. That's a lot to ask of Colby Wooden, Nasir Stackhouse, and Warren Brinson, two of them being rookies, one of them basically making a transition into a new spot and adding on some weight. There's definitely going to be a little bit of pressure on those three guys, not to mention, again, Devontae Wyatt being asked to kind of step up and just play a much better overall brand of football, not just kind of focus on pass rushing as much. There is some real legitimate question marks to what that run defense will look like. That's the bad news. And also, by the way, Clark and Slayton, pretty darn good at keeping offensive linemen off of guys like Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker as well, making their jobs a bit easier. Those are all things that we're really going to have to sort of let see play out. And I guarantee you are going to get a crash course of running right up the middle from Detroit right away. I would be willing to bet you early and often there, Jahmyr Gibbs and company are coming right up the middle of that Packers defense. Let's see what you got. See what you got, Colby Wooden. Let's see what you got, Nasir Stackhouse, Warren Brinson, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks. They're coming at you. And they're going to go early and often, would be my guess. So that's number one. I do think there's going to be some concern on that. I think if you're looking for good news, what I will say is you do have a 330-pound defensive tackle that you just kept on this roster. That certainly helps some things. You do have a defensive line group that Jeff Hafley has been effusive in his praise for every single time he's been asked about them. Like over the top, extremely thrilled with his defensive tackle room. So hopefully he's just right on that and these guys are ready to go. I do think that Colby Wooden's looked a lot better as a run-stopping defensive tackle. And so I'm semi-hopeful that he can kind of take some of those snaps and be good with them. I will also add that just because Green Bay added Micah Parsons yesterday and just traded away Kenny Clark does not mean that they need to be done today, tomorrow, next week, trade deadline, etc. As Brian Gutekunst would say, roster building is a 365-day-a-year process, and they will be looking around to see if they can upgrade their defensive tackle room if they feel they need to do that at some point in time. Maybe as soon as today or tomorrow. Maybe it never happens at all, but I guarantee you he'll be keeping very close tabs on it. The other piece that I really wanted to get into from a good news standpoint, I think so many times we get caught up on run defense and it's like, well, you've got to have the big, like the Williams wall from Minnesota, right? Kevin Williams, Pat Williams, and some of these really big run defenders, Sam Adams, the defensive tackle, not the beer. You have these big guys, Vince Wilfork, etc. Listen, if you can have a Vita Vea, a Vince Wilfork, those type of players, that's great. That's really, really great. Those can help you a lot. Gilbert Brown, another great example. It doesn't have to necessarily just be that. Green Bay last year was a really great team defense team. They did stuff things up in the middle, which was an important aspect, but they set the edge well. Their linebackers were flying around, and their safeties came up and played the run. Their corners came up and played the run. They collectively, as a group, decided that they were going to be a good run defense. They spent an exhaustive amount of time on it. They got ridiculously better at it. And it was really something that they input a lot of time, effort, and energy into stopping the run. And the output was a much better run defense. And I don't think that there's anything that can hold them. I mean, obviously, if they just don't have the horses up front, sure, maybe there's a piece of that. But I think their time, effort, and energy spent on run defense is going to be the same thing again. And the one other thing that I'll add on top of that is we have heard from day one from Jeff Hafley. What he wants to be is a gap shooting, penetrating defensive line. He wants those guys getting upfield and causing chaos. Sometimes your Kenny Clarks, your TJ Slaytons, they're good at holding up at the point of attack, but they're not necessarily chaos creators. Maybe Jeff Hafley doesn't care if the guys are 350 pounds holding up at the point of attack. Maybe he wants Devontae Wyatt and Carl Brooks starting in there and just shooting gaps up the middle and taking advantage and slanting inside and trying to just cause that chaos. And what I'll add on top of that is that they have those pieces. Warren Brinson's got some juice to him. Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden was a 3 technique, right? He still has a little bit of that to him as well. Devontae Wyatt certainly has that. These are guys that can penetrate inside and really cause some chaos and some havoc. And I think that's something he's probably going to lean in on more. It might not be Kenny Clark long arming and holding up 2 guys at the point of attack with 1 on each arm and trying to get everyone else to go make the play. And he's just kind of holding things up. It might be Devontae Wyatt and Carl Brooks shooting into the backfield, trying to make a play. And there's a there's a fun philosophy that kind of goes along with that. For a defensive coordinator, if let's say they both shoot up front, right? Brooks and Wyatt shoot up front, and the running back maybe makes a cut and gets inside. Maybe they pick up 8 to 12 yards on the play, right? Let's say that in 2nd and 2, they pick up the first down on that play. Now you've got a new set of downs. Now you run the ball again, but this time Devontae Wyatt slashes in the backfield, tackles Jahmyr Gibbs for a 3-yard loss. Okay. Yeah, you gave up that first down, 8-yard run or maybe a 12-yard run, but then you got to the second one and now you're in 2nd and 13. Now it's game time. All right, we gave you the first down, no harm, no foul. We're happy to do that. We didn't allow a catastrophic run. It wasn't a 40-yard run. We trust our safeties and linebackers to make it so that once they get the first line of defense, our guys are going to clean up after it. It's going to be maybe a 5, 6, 8, 12-yard run, but it's not going to be a 20, 40, 60, 80-yarder. And then we'll see that the next pair of downs. And if we can slash in the backfield on that play and get the tackle for loss, now we dictate. What are you going to do on 2nd and 13? You're going to run the ball? Fine. We'll give you 5 yards again. We'll live in 3rd and 8. All right. Now you're going to pass. All right. Now it's incomplete. Now you're on 3rd and 13. Good night, nurse. It's over. We're going to take our Micah Parsons pass rush plan and we're just going to, blitz you into oblivion or just get there with 4. You're not going to get off. You're not going to get a first down in that situation. So there is some hey, we don't really care if you pick up 4, 5, 6 yards on one of those runs. We might not even care if you get 4, 5, 6 yards on the next one. Eventually you're going to run for it. And our big gap penetrating defensive tackles inside and edge rushers, they're going to get you for a loss. And now you're playing on our terms. And now the drive's basically going to be over. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's necessarily gambling, but it's calculated. It's willing to take a couple risks here and there, maybe give up an 8 to 12-yard run every once in a while to get them in that 2nd and long situation. And if you do that, and maybe again, you do it right away, you're going to have the opportunity to get off the field. So we don't know exactly how Jeff Hafley is going to play this run defense. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of everything, but I am not resigned to the fact of just Kenny Clark's gone, TJ Slayton's gone, and now this is going to be a bad run defense. I think they're going to have some challenges. I do have some, it's not nervousness, angst, or anxiety. It's just more of, I'm aware of it. I'm cautiously watching it of what does this look like? But I'm hoping that they can stand up in the inside and it doesn't become some sort of major issue. Because if it does, let's be frank too, if all of a sudden it's 2nd and 3 every single time and 3rd and 1, or you just don't even get to 3rd down, Micah Parsons becomes a pretty big non-factor as well as the rest of the pass rush because you're just not getting teams in 3rd and long situations. Got to eat your vegetables first, got to get them in those 3rd and longs, and then you get the privilege to go hunt the quarterback. So hopefully they can still hold up very, very well in run defense. Cheese Stradamus, every position is upgraded with the contracted Parsons. Who or what position will improve the most? Yeah, I just have to say it's Rashawn Gary still. I think that the secondary gets a big boost because in a lot of big passing downs, you're not going to have to cover for quite as long. I think that's going to be an advantage, but there's nobody that's going to benefit on this as much as Rashawn Gary is going to. LVN to some extent too. But Rashawn Gary got so many double teams, chips, just extra attention his way. That's all going to Micah Parsons now. And Rashawn Gary's going to get a lot more one-on-ones. It's like when you've got that cleanup hitter hitting behind you in the lineup, or that, the guy that hits, 330 or whatever, and you've got guys on base. You don't want to face the guy coming up next, and you're sitting in the seat where you're just going to get some fastballs down the middle if you get into a positive count, and you're going to be able to smash the ball because of it. If you're protected in the lineup, you're sitting in a really good spot. Rashawn Gary is sitting in a really great spot right now. He's protected in the lineup by Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is going to get all the attention, and Rashawn Gary is going to be able to go hunt the quarterback a little bit more. So I think he's the biggest benefactor of this of anyone on the defense. Steven, thank you for becoming a new member. Do you think Hafley stays longer because of the Micah Parsons addition? No, if anything, if you want to be nervous about anything, I think that this could be a top 3 defense this year. And if it's a top 3 defense, I mean, Hafley's a head coach in the NFL to me. He's very capable, and every team that passes on him, I think, is eventually going to regret it. I think he is a legit, really good coach in this league. And I think he's going to, or at least a worthy NFL head coach. I'll put it that way. What he does, that remains to be seen. But I think he's more than worthy of being an NFL coach. And I think he's going to get one eventually. And if he's a top 3 defensive coach this year, I think it's more likely that he ends up leaving. Now, some of you might point to, hey, he left being a head coach because he wanted to be a coordinator again. No, he left college football because college football started to suck. And because at the time you had all the NIL stuff and the transfer portals, and just everything. You were spending 99% of your time recruiting and trying to keep your guys, and coaching the game was actually a much smaller part of it. You didn't just get to do ball anymore. You had to do all the other logistical nightmare stuff. That's why he left college. Yes, I'm sure there's a piece of him that wanted to get back to being a defensive coordinator. There's no doubt in my mind, if some team would have offered him a head coaching job in the NFL at the same time Green Bay offered him the defensive coordinator job, I guarantee you he wasn't going, thank you for the head coaching job, but I'd rather be the defensive coordinator over here. I really don't think that's the case. So I think he would absolutely, he interviewed for a head coaching job. I think at least one, if not two of them this past cycle, didn't get it, but he's going to continue to get more of those. And they have a great defense this year. Like I think they have the ability to. We could see Jeff Hafley maybe not for long in Green Bay, and deservedly so. Don't get the route Reed is taking with the injury. So for those who don't know, it's a Jones fracture is what it's being reported as. What I'll say here, Ralph, is a couple different things. One, he's a battler and a warrior, and he wants to do everything in his power to be out on the field. Number two is, I think it's impossible for us to make any sort of commentary on it whatsoever. It's impossible. We don't know the exact extent of the injury. Could be I don't even know if like a minor Jones fracture is a thing, but maybe it's much more minor than what it's actually being led on to believe. Whatever the case may be, he looks good running routes. You can see after he runs the routes, he's a little bit, ginger after it. It does seem like there is some risk of re-injury if that is in fact a serious Jones fracture. We just don't know. All we can do is trust Jayden Reed, trust the doctors, trust the medical professionals to make, give Jayden the advice that he needs to make in this situation. And hopefully it turns out for the best. I know that he's battling to be out there one way or the other, and I appreciate the hell out of that. And that's the only thing I'm going to make a comment on is I love that he's trying to get out there in any way possible because he cares about it that much. Anything else, it's impossible to judge him for because we simply don't know the circumstances that are going on in his particular unique medical situation. How does this transaction impact re-signing guys like Dobbs, Watson, Quay, Wyatt, Ryan, etc.? Do you worried about having too much money in so few guys? Yeah, Tyler, everything is more complicated moving forward with re-signing guys and signing free agents and things like that. Everything. As I talked about with Justice, and as I talked about, I know at some point in the 4-hour marathon yesterday, Green Bay has the ability to do things. If they get to next offseason and they're like, man, Sean Ryan just made the Pro Bowl last year, we would like to keep him. They can keep him. If they don't want to release Elton Jenkins from that $20 million in contract, then they'd like to keep him next year. They can keep him. Christian Watson comes back and looks like the second coming of Randy Moss. They can keep him. Like they can't keep all of them, but they'll have some choices of guys that they want to bring back, and they'll be able to keep a guy here or there if they want to. But it absolutely complicates everything moving forward. Now, as we've talked about, a lot of these players, Dobbs and Watson, hello, Golden and Savion. Quay Walker, hello, Tyron Hopper. Devontae Wyatt's an interesting one, but he's already under contract next year for the 5th-year option. So that's kind of the year after that. Sean Ryan, hello, Anthony Belton, Jordan Morgan. A lot of these players have already had basically draft picks that have come in that can ultimately be their replacements down the road. So I think it's going to cloud it. I think it's going to make for some very difficult decisions. And I think a lot of these guys that they are going to re-sign in next year's class are just going to be gone. But if they really want to bring back one or two of them, they'll be able to find ways to do that. And it's certainly not going to be catastrophic to what they want to do, but there's going to be some difficult decisions that they have to make. That is just living in the world of an NFL salary cap. And there's going to have to be some concessions that they make because they gave Micah this huge deal. Scotty Scott, thank you for the $1 super chat. You are the man. Thank you so much. All right. I think that does it for our super chats for now. Let's go to the back to the top. Yo, so they changed the times. Was wondering what was up. Yeah, so we had to change the time of the happy hour as well, but 5 p.m. is when Goody will start. What do you think a move like this does for the moral mindset of the locker room? Right through the roof. I've said, actually, I don't know, maybe I haven't gone into it a ton. It just felt like at times there was kind of like a weird vibe around this team all during camp and mini camp and OTAs. I want to be very clear here. This is not like some sort of like, oh, this team is weird or in the dulge. It just felt like, and this is even just like, I didn't feel like there were maybe quite as many fans out at training camp making as much noise as they usually did. It didn't have that vibe and excitement. I think the injuries were really a huge part of kind of the bummer of camp. And Jordan Love has a thumb injury. He doesn't get to practice for a couple of days. It wasn't anything tangible. It wasn't anything like the guys weren't working hard or anything like that. Something just felt a little bit off. And I was even thinking at the time where I was feeling that, I'm like, man, if there ever was maybe a time just to go and add a Trey Hendrickson or a Micah Parsons or anything like that, maybe this is the time. Just get a little bit of a jolt into this team and give them that real excitement. I think it's going to do exactly that. I think this team is going to be exhilarated by this move. I think they're going to be so ready for Detroit. They have to go out and prove it, but I think this is going to be a real big positive for that locker room, the energy, the intensity, and just hopefully bringing this team to an entirely different level, a heightened level of expectation. And hopefully they go out there and compete at the highest levels and know exactly what's at stake now. Seems like Micah's flight got delayed. Yeah, it sounds like that was the case. Is Micah's run defense really as bad as people claim? I almost don't care. Gary has been better against the run. Let Micah cause chaos and have the edge sometimes back him up to play cleanup. All right, so this is, again, another fun conversation. The first answer is no, it's not that bad. It's not great. He's not an epic run defender. He's a middle-of-the-ground run defender at defensive end. And I still think there's opportunity to get better. I think he fits extremely well in this Jeff Hafley defense. And if we are talking about a defense that wants to get guys penetrating upfield, maybe they use Micah Parsons a little bit in a different way than he got used in Dallas. The other thing, and the more important thing here, is we don't know how they're going to utilize Micah Parsons yet in these situations. In obvious passing downs, he's going to be rushing the passer a lot. On more 1st and 10 situations, you could get him a little bit of rest in those situations. You can go out, heck, just days ago, right? Early yesterday morning, we're thinking, all right, LVN, Gary, Wyatt, Clark, and then you've got, Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper, either Tyron Hopper, Isaiah McDuffie in there as well. Like, they're going to go out there, play some 4-3 defense, and they're going to stop the run. You can still put Gary and LVN in the edges. You don't have Clark anymore, but you're still going to put Wyatt and probably Colby Wooden at defensive tackle. Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper are going to be 2 of the linebackers. Guess what? You don't have to have Micah Parsons in there at defensive end. He can be your strong side linebacker. That works. Now he doesn't have to hold up at the point of attack as a edge setter if you don't want him to. And he might have to take on a block from time to time or things like that, but he's a defensive end taking on a block. Like, that's a much easier thing to do for him than it would be, a normal linebacker, right? There's so much that you can do with him. I don't have much concern. I think he's going to be motivated. I think he's going to come in and play well. Again, I think he fits very well with what Jeff Hafley is going to ask him to do. We have seen them, again, put a ton of time, effort, and energy into run defense. And I think that will hopefully motivate him as well. And even if it doesn't, put him at Sam or just give him some rest so he's out there on obvious passing downs. There's a lot of different options that you have with the depth that they have in the defensive front on this team. Just excited to see what Goody has to say about the Parsons trade. Me personally, I'm laying a red carpet out for him. Yeah, that's going to be a fun conversation for sure. I'm a bit worried about LVN might not develop enough, being that he will be edge 3, but maybe this will elevate him, being that he doesn't have to worry about being the guy right now. Just that it's a good problem to have. There's nothing here that's going to limit LVN. If they want to, they could just go a heavy 3-man rotation. Also, as I've talked about before, you're going to see a lot of plays with LVN, Gary, and Micah Parsons on the field at the same time. Like, LVN is going to get a lot of snaps this season, whether he's a quote unquote starter or not. I don't really care about it. It's not really anything that bothers me. He's still going to play a lot of snaps in this upcoming season. So I don't think that this is anything. In fact, I don't think it affects his snaps as much as people might think. It's going to affect, I think, some of the Bretton Coxes, the Baron Sorrells, maybe even Kingsley Nigbari a little bit. Those guys are going to be affected. I don't think LVN's going to be affected all that much at all. When are we building a statue of a dog in a hat next to Lombardi at Lambeau? There should be like a NFL Insiders little area, maybe in the press box, just a little dog in the press box with his, with the hat on and everything like that. I'm all for that. But the Gutekunst comment from the other day, you're never exactly one player away. Yeah. Goody doesn't believe in windows, and he doesn't believe in being one player away, but maybe by accident, he just opened up a window and maybe just by happenstance thought that Micah Parsons was the guy to set them over the top. General managers are not always totally transparent. And sometimes, sometimes philosophies change too. We'll see. But this was obviously something that Goody really wanted to do. He went out aggressively and did it. And I give him kudos for that, regardless of what his philosophy is on it. Andy, what is your new win prediction, floor and ceiling for this team now after the Micah trade? I mean, barring injuries, right? Like catastrophic injuries or things like that. 13-4 high, 9-8 low. I think that's probably about right. I still think this is a really tough schedule. I still probably put them in that 12-5 range. Like, I think 12-5 is a really good year for this team. Hopefully that's enough to put them right in that number one line. It might not be. You might need to go 13-4, but I think 12-5 seems right. I want to start the season 3-1. I think 3-1 or better is where you want to be at after those first 4 games. But as long as they get in the playoffs, to me, they're not going to be judged on their regular season record. They're going to be judged what they do in the playoffs. And that to me is far more important than what their actual regular season record is. So to me, again, 12-5, did I say 13-5? 12-5 seems right. And I just want to see them play their best football at the end of the year. Fun fact, Micah played my high school team my junior year, had like 250 plus rushing yards, sat out the third quarter. Now he's a monster in the league and plays for my favorite team. What a time to be alive. That's awesome. Yeah, maybe he's got some running back versatility too. All right, pretty sure we were just fine stopping the run last year with an injured Kenny. I don't think this year will be a problem like people think. We still have time to bolster that spot anyway. Yeah, we talked about kind of something similar there, Pokey. And he pumped about the trade, but my question is, with the run defense being as good as it was last year and Kenny having a down year, will much change? Was the run defense good despite him? Yeah, I thought even when Kenny wasn't at his best, or again, maybe missed a little bit of time, I still thought it was a good run defense. I think they're going to be fine. It's monitoring it at this point. Like, let's see what it looks like early in the season. And even if it doesn't look great early in the season, that doesn't mean that they can't improve. But I just want to look at what it looks like come that Detroit game is going to tell a lot. We're going to know right away. If they stop the run against Detroit, you're going to feel really good about what that run defense looks like. If Jahmyr Gibbs is going for, 25 for 180, all right, you've probably got some leaks that need some clogging, and we'll see if they can maybe make some changes there. But overall, I'm not super concerned at the moment. The only thing that will hold the Packers back this year will be injuries, which you can't control, and/or penalties. Need to focus on playing clean games and not making self-inflicted wounds. I actually think, let me see if I can pull this up here. All right. This is the AI overview, but this has been my understanding of it for a long period of time as well. It is counterintuitive, which is why it's so interesting. There is a weak overall correlation between the raw number of penalties and winning in the NFL, as teams can succeed despite high penalty counts by taking care of other areas of the game. However, specific high impact penalties such as defensive holding or pass interference can significantly influence game outcomes by leading to automatic first downs or large yardage swings. And teams that avoid these costly mistakes tend to win more often. So yeah, the long story short is that there's multiple things here. We're looking at multiple seasons. Penalty numbers for individual teams tend to even out, and being penalized more often doesn't necessarily translate to more wins or losses. So data analysis, including concepts like expected points added, helps quantify the impact of penalties by measuring their influence win probability. I don't know, it doesn't matter. But the long story short is, like, most analytical models and just tracking of it will tell you that there's actually not a huge correlation between penalties and winning or losing games. So it's weird, right? It's counterintuitive. But sometimes there's those teams, right, that are willing to get like the 8 to 9, penalties, knowing that because you got 8 or 9, you might not get called for the other 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 that you might be doing. Those teams that are just kind of pushing the boundaries on every single play. There's some of that goes into it as well. But yeah, overall, it's kind of surprising. But penalties actually, like turnovers, right? We know turnovers are a massive indicator of winning or losing. There's no question about it. Turnovers dictate so much of the winning percentage. Penalties is not that same way at all. I'd like them to not commit penalties, but it doesn't actually affect the win percentage like you might think it would. Mike is scheduled to land at 4:01 p.m. Love it. Has to be the fastest front seven. The athleticism is off the charts. They're going to be a very fast team up front. No question about it. Do you think this offseason sparks a turning point in Green Bay's philosophy for drafting, trading going forward? With McKinney, Golden, and Micah, things feel different, and I love it. I mean, I think a lot of it, let's start here. This is Goody's team. This is his baby. This is his group that he is banking on, the team that's here right now in 2025. There'll be some players who leave. There'll be some more players that come along the way, but this core right now is his franchise. This is his team. These are his guys. Okay. He has built this team in his image. This is the team that he has wanted. You go back to the 2020s and some of those, There's a lot of Rodgers, Devontae, Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander, David Bakhtiari, Corey Linsley, Aaron Jones. I may have said him twice, but you get my point. There's a lot of players that were Ted's guys, that were carryovers. There was a lot of Aaron Rodgers stuff. He obviously added to some of that by adding guys like Preston, Zadarius, Amos, Billy Turner, etc. But that was really a lot of Ted Thompson's team and a lot of carryovers from that. In the last 2 years, we're still kind of like ramping up the real true Goody era. We're here now. Kenny was the last Ted Thompson Green Bay Packer. This is his baby. He has built this team in his image, and now we're going to go see what a fully functional Brian Gutekunst team looks like. Is it great? Is it good? Is it bad? What is it? And to add on top of that, they've made these aggressive moves already. They've traded away first-round picks for Micah Parsons. It's exciting now. It's going to be a little bit of a bummer come draft time, right? But he's already done this. There's not a whole lot more aggressive that he can be. I don't think he's going out there today trying to trade away his 2028 first-round pick. If that happens, there is a, what are they called, Skrulls or something from the Avengers? There is a Skrull inside of Brian Gutekunst. That's not him, right? If you told me today they traded a 2028 first-round pick for like a defensive tackle or a corner or something, we're so far gone. It's like, it's just over. That's not Goody anymore. There's an imposter in there, and we need to do some investigating. But I don't expect that to happen. But what I will tell you is, based on how this goes, will shape how Green Bay views some of this stuff in the future. If going, and I don't think the Matthew Golden thing's aggressive. He was the best player on the board. That was as simple as that. There's no other argument for a best player on the board. In fact, I think, what did they pick? 22nd, right? I thought there were 22 first-round draftable players, and Matthew Golden was the 22nd one that was left. And then I thought there was a drop-off after that. That's how I viewed that draft. They just took the best player available. So I don't necessarily put that in the same context or grouping. But if going out and spending a lot of money on Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Banks, Nate Hobbs, and trading multiple first-round picks and giving a ton of money to Micah Parsons, if that leads to a Super Bowl or two, yeah, they're going to be more aggressive moving forward. If it falls flat and they maybe make it to the first or second round of the playoffs a couple times, or it just doesn't work out the way that you expected, they're going to have to reevaluate. I don't know if Goody's going to get to do that reevaluating if it doesn't work, but at some point they're going to have to reevaluate and say, all right, what we tried didn't work. We're going to have to go in a different direction. So I think a lot of what happens next is based on how this new core of Goody's team really performs moving forward. Andy, buddy, I'm still listening to that 4-hour pod from last night. I salute you, my friend. There's a lot, honestly, I'm not saying this. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. Just a lot of stuff that came up throughout the course of the conversation. It was a beautiful thing in a way that I had 4 hours to kind of marinate in the car on like all of my thoughts. And I didn't have the opportunity to talk to anybody about anything. And I got home and you guys were the first ones that I got to talk to. So it just let it just like vomited out of my mouth of like everything that I had pent up for 4 hours thinking about this entire situation and being so frustrated because I didn't get to do it earlier. So you guys just got 4 hours of pure one thing after the other, everything that was on my mind. It actually kind of worked beautifully. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I highly recommend doing it. And we covered everything that you could possibly imagine. Andy, will Micah be able to play week 1 against Detroit? I'd be pretty stunned if he doesn't. I'd be pretty stunned. And we don't know for sure. We don't know what that physical looks like or what kind of condition he's in, things like that. But he'll probably be on a pitch count, but I'd be pretty stunned if he didn't play in some capacity. Third live today for me. Love that. Love that, John Boy. Yes, happiest of happy hour to you and yours. Thank you, Johnny. Conferences are 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. 5 p.m. for Goody, 6 p.m. for Parsons, and they have not rescheduled. They've not rescheduled Matt LaFleur yet. So I'm guessing LaFleur doesn't talk today, but we'll see. Andy, love the pod and your commitment to it, and your listeners is incredible. No question, just respect. Thank you so much, Derek. Andy, are you sure you're not sick of us? I'm never sick of you guys. Never, ever, ever. The other way around, maybe. You guys might be getting sick of me, but no, I love you guys. Thank you so much. Press conference at 5 and 6. 5 p.m. for Parsons, 6 p.m. for Goody. Now you're making me question it. Where did it go here? Making sure. Yeah, 5 p.m. Goody, 6 p.m. Parsons. Man, I still can't believe Dallas traded first but second to Green Bay. I can't believe Dallas traded first but second to Green Bay. Just love it. I'm not exactly sure what that means, Nemo Hose, but I'm still stunned by the entire thing as well. So I get the general context. Talked about the pressers. Andy, do you think that the Micah Parsons run defense issues are true or overblown? We talked over that. I don't think it's a major issue. I think he's going to be just fine. 5 seasons. Yes, 5 seasons of Micah is great. In Florida at the pool, having a Yingling beer, celebrating Parsons all day. Almost done with your 4-hour stream. Killer Kenny, cheers to you, my friend. Do you think it's likely that the Packers sign another DB, someone like Asante Samuel Jr.? There's nothing out there. Asante Samuel is not cleared yet. I think they said like around October that he's cleared. He does not fit this defense at all, I don't think, personally. So, you know, if they need to go get somebody, I think the first person they would call would be Micah Robinson off the practice squad. I think the next thing would be they would see if there's other players out there on practice squads that they can go get. And if that doesn't work, maybe they could look at the trade deadline to pick up another corner. But for now, no, I think they're going to go into the season seeing what their corners can do and seeing if they can hold up. And if they can't, then they're going to maybe have to course correct a little bit. But for now, they're going to go out and test these corners and see what they're capable of. Why does anyone know about the press conference? It's like impossible to find. Yeah, I don't know if it's been out there. I think it's more of just been sent to the media. But again, 5 and 6 p.m. No, I'm not a jersey guy, Adam. I don't have a single jersey. I get the kids' jerseys now. So just got the kids' new jerseys, the brand new blue ones. They're very excited. My son, my youngest, who loves playing running back, got a Josh Jacobs jersey. And my oldest son, whose name is Xavier, his is spelled different, Xavyr. But his name is Xavier. He wanted a Xavier McKinney jersey. So he got the brand new blue Xavier McKinney jersey. So the navy blue, the throwback jerseys, Xavier McKinney for the oldest, Josh Jacobs for the youngest, and very excited about that. But no jerseys for me. I will say this. If I were going to get a jersey right now, though, a Micah Parsons one seems pretty cool, pending the number. I just think he's going to be really excited. I think Mike is going to be really, really excited. And I'm already getting goosebumps knowing that I'm going to be there in a little bit, listening to Goody and Micah talk about this. Yep. Conference call is coming up again, 6 p.m. today. We don't know number yet. We talked about the record prediction. Again, I'm going 12 and 5. Do you think this leads us to a Super Bowl like Reggie White and Charles Woodson? Fatal massacre. What I'll say is Super Bowls are insanely hard. There's no perfect formula. There is no, you have to get a little lucky. You have to have the right players peaking at the right point at the right time. I think they've gone from fringe contender to legitimate contender. That's all I can ask for. And then the results will speak for themselves. I think Goody's done a really good job putting together this team. And now the test is going to be coming this upcoming year. He's prepared. He's got the guys needed there that I think he needs to have there. There's young up and coming players. There's veterans where you need them. There's super talented players. There's guys that should break out. I think it's a really good mix. I really, really do. And now it's just, can they put it together, get hot at the right time, and actually win it? Your guess is as good as mine. Your smart money is just no. 31 teams. If you say, nobody's going to win the Super Bowl, you're going to be right 31 times and wrong on only one of them, right? Every single year. So my bet would just be, no, none of them are probably going to win it. And I'm just only going to get one wrong. But it's really, really difficult to do so, but they very much put their name in the conversation. And let's just say this too, right? This is the journey. If we just knew yep, they're the best team and they're clearly going to win the Super Bowl, I'll still take the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong, but that's not quite as fun. The journey, the growth, the ability to overcome, that's the fun piece of this. It's seeing them go from a team that you didn't know what Jordan Love was going to be and having that breakout in the second half of 2023 to some, bumps in the road in 2024 to assembling a better team and going out and hopefully winning it in 2025. That's the beautiful journey of this thing. I mean, 96 was sweet, but it was sweeter because 93, 94, 95, you felt like you had really good chances to win. It just wasn't enough. And then 96, they finally got over the hump and they actually won it. And it was euphoric when it happened, so sometimes you got to go through the churn a little bit to come out where you need to be. And the journey of all of that is a beautiful thing. That the journey that the 2010 team took throughout the course of the season, the injuries to Aaron at the, towards the end, not to mention, just the losing streak. Like, what were they? 10 and 6 that year, I want to say. It was not a easy up and down year for Green Bay. They had to go through a lot of adversity. I think what people still don't understand is you usually almost always have to go through that adversity to get to the finish line. It just doesn't happen where you put together a perfect team and they go out and crush everyone. It just doesn't work that way. Philadelphia, last year, I would say they were one of the teams that went through just about the least possible adversity on their way to the Super Bowl. That's because they went through all of it the year before. That team was really good and then completely and utterly fell apart in the second half of the season and couldn't beat anybody, and got eliminated easily in the first round of the playoffs to the point where they almost nuked the whole thing, fired the head coach. They stuck with it. They came through the adversity out on the other side. They were better because of it. And then they went out and won a Super Bowl. So your guess is as good as mine. It's really difficult to do. Hopefully they've got the right pieces to overcome any adversity that they face throughout the course of the season and are strong enough at the end to make that push and ultimately bring a Lombardi trophy back to Green Bay. I had like 3 people reach out to me that I said Super Bowl trophy. I am very sorry. The Lombardi trophy. Kenny Clark's run grade is 50 on PFF. He had a rough year last year. The foot injury really limited him. I don't trust not PFF. I don't trust that was the real Kenny last year. I really don't. And I think we were all expecting him. I guess what you're saying is that they were still fine on run defense despite Kenny not being as good. And I would agree with that. I think he was better than the 50 grade that they might be giving there. I think he was mostly fine, but he was not like a stellar run defender last year by any stretch, and they were still a good run defense. So on that side of things, you're pointing out a very valid point. Packers should reach out to the Whites for their blessing to Dawn 92. What do you say? You know what I say, Matt Morse? I say I'm kind of done with retired jerseys. Is that a hot take? Maybe that's a hot take. First of all, you're just going to run out at some point. Second of all, I put the name on the Wall of Fame or whatever and the Ring of Honor. That it be in the Packers Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame, like that's a lot of stuff. Your name is in Lambeau forever. You are in the Packers Hall of Fame. You are in the National Football Hall of Fame. Does your number need to be retired too, that nobody can wear your number ever again? I think I'm just kind of done with retired numbers. I think that's where I ultimately come out on it. I don't. And by the way, like it shouldn't be something that you have to ask permission of Reggie White's family to give I think the thing is just kind of it's. I don't think it's gone too far. I like the overall sentiment. I don't think it's a bad sentiment or anything like that. I just think I think I like how, what was it, Michigan that does it? That certain numbers have special meaning. And if you get number 92, it means that you are in that realm, right? If you get number 12, if you get number 4, number 1, etc., it means that you are one of the captains or the leaders or the best players on the team. I like honoring it that way rather than just be like, nope, nobody gets to wear it anymore. What does that do? I don't know. I'm very curmudgeon-y, I guess, on this topic. I don't mean to be, but I think I'm just kind of done with retired numbers. Taking advantage of NFC East front offices is becoming a fun annual tradition. Man, Micah Parsons, Xavier McKinney, and Saquon Barkley should never have gone anywhere from those teams. It is really remarkable. Do you think they will try to keep their best 4D linemen out on the field and move Van Ness interior? Or do you think guys like Cox and Brinson will get more playing time than originally expected? I think a lot of these guys are going to see different rotations. We're going to see different lineups, mixing and matching. There's going to be a lot of movement with those guys overall. So no one specific lineup that they use all the time. LVN will kick in some certain situations. You're going to see Micah Parsons lined up over center, standing up. You're going to see the kitchen sink. So just get ready. There'll be a lot of very unique wrinkles from Jeff Hafley, and I have no question about that. Christian Wilkins, Justice brought up a great point. Remember, it wasn't just the bizarro locker room stuff. It was also that he was injured and the Raiders wanted him to get surgery. He wasn't getting surgery. There's a lot there. I just don't know that that's what you want to introduce into the locker room at this point in time. Might be a little bit more hassle than what it's worth. Stackhouse going to learn to be the grave digger. That'd be great. Thought Parsons is more of a 3-4 not a 4-3. First of all, it does not matter. Rush the passer. I think the whole thing of putting your hand in the dirt or standing up, it just doesn't matter anymore, especially when you're talking elite pass rushers. Secondly, Micah can do all of it. He can hand in the dirt. He can stand up outside. You're going to stand him up over center. You can put him as a true off-ball linebacker. You can do anything with that guy. So sky's the limit. You're only limited by your imagination, and he is scheme versatile in pretty much anything that you want to do with him. I do think we will see some Van Ness looks inside, But again, more, sure, not a ton, but they're gonna see a lot of different looks. It's gonna be, like I said, the kitchen sink being thrown at teams. Is it unrealistic to have NFC Championship as an expectation this season? No, no, not at all. I'm still on cloud nine, operating on 4 hours of sleep as I'm a journalist or work in the I'm still on cloud nine, operating on 4 hours of sleep as if I'm a journalist or work in the content community. I promise I have a life. That said, Christian Wilkins. Yeah, we just talked about that. I don't think they're going to go in that direction. And again, I think there's some injury concern there as well. What number do you think Michael will wear? He said 0 or 1. My guess is 1's not on the table. I think my guess is he does end up with number 0. That's just a guess off the top of my head. I think he'll be the first one to don number 0 in Green Bay. That kind of seems fitting. Take the hat off, Andy. We didn't forget. I do know. I'll do the. I really want to do the hot chip challenge and do a hatless episode. I've done hatless episodes before, so I really don't care. If you want me to take the hat off, I will. But I'll do both of those at some point. I just got to plan it out and figure out what the right time to do both of those are. Don't think any other time this year is going to be. I don't think any other team this year is going to want to embarrass themselves by trading with the Packers. I mean, yeah, I don't think any team's probably looking at it that way, that they want to not trade with the Packers. I think more teams might want to trade with the Cowboys. I think that might be the way that they're looking at it. Need to pick up a good safety or defensive tackle that has got cut. They're good at safety. I have no concerns at safety. They've got one of the deepest safety rooms in the NFL. There's no defensive tackles who've got cut. You know, there were a couple that got claimed, but anyone else is just chilling on practice squads at this point. I think they just go in with their 5, see what they got, and then course correct as needed. Hopefully they don't need to. Andy, what is the name of the video you talked about Hendrickson and Parson and what it would cost the Packers? Yeah, give me 1 second here. I got you. I'll link it to you right here. Just posted it in chat. And it is called, Should the Packers Go All In for Micah Parsons or Trey Hendrickson? And it was 8 days ago. And the crux of that was like what it would cost the Packers if they did something like it. Hello. It's probably a really fun one to go back and listen to be honest. Andy, these Bears fans are coping so hard since we got Micah. They know they're not going to beat us for another 5 years. Let them cope. They are really good at it. It's one of the things they've gotten really, really, really good at. Bears fans are not good at much. You do have to give it to them. They are A+ copers. That is the thing that's appreciated with your point about run defense. Our inside linebacker and safety core is the best that it's been in a long time to prevent runs from becoming long ones. Very much so. What head coaching jobs could open up after the season that half might be interested in? Man, I'd have to go through and like think of it team by team. I mean, if McDermott fell apart with the Bills, that would be a very interesting one. If Mike McDaniel fell apart with the Dolphins, that would be an interesting one. I don't know if you'd be interested in the Giants, but Dable being gone, I mean, it's a heck of a start with Abdul Carter. Jackson Dart looked okay. You know, you've got Malik Neighbors at wide receiver. That could be one. If anything would happen where like the Ravens fell short again and they decided to move on from Harbaugh, if the Steelers did come up short again and they decided to move on from Mike Tomlin, that could be one. I would stay away from Cleveland. Cincinnati, that would be one. I would stay away from that organization as a whole. But man, if you get, you know, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, that's not the worst place to start if you think you can make over that defense. Probably nothing in the NFC North. We could go on and on, but I mean, those are already some good ones that could become available if things went a certain way. Andy, would you rather give up Wyatt and Brooks for Parsons or just Clark? Probably Wyatt and Brooks. Probably Wyatt and Brooks. I think Brooks has been a little bit too quiet the last couple of years. And I like Wyatt, but I don't actually love that 15 million fully guaranteed contract next year. I think also you've got pass rushers all over that I think the run defender actually probably plays a little bit better. I probably like a defensive line group of Clark, Wooden, Brinson, Stackhouse, and I feel like I can maybe find another guy like LVN can kick inside sometimes, or I could use some double A gap stuff to kind of open up some stuff inside. So I probably would have kept Clark in that situation, but it's a close call. And I'll just put it this way. Neither of those would have been deal breakers. If Dallas would have said, hey, we want 2 firsts and Kenny, or hey, we want 2 firsts, Wyatt and Brooks, I would have ran to the phone to accept, or the email or fax machine carrier pigeon. However, Jerry Jones wanted that deal done. I would have done it right away, accepted it, no questions asked. Scotty, I haven't checked it yet, but let me, I'm going to go back in super chats in just a moment. How much do you think this hurts the run defense? Yeah, we talked about this. Sorry about that. Do you think we'll see a NASCAR formation? Maybe some, yeah, we're going to see everything, guys. We're going to see a lot of really fun stuff from Jeff Hafley. Hats off to Goot. He made another great deal. Yes, he did. Russ Ball, we trust. Good contract as well. Record prediction now that we have Micah. Again, 12-5. 12-5. Finally had a Luiges yesterday. Andy is not lying. Those things are fire. This has been one of my favorite things of working with Luiges and getting you guys introduced. Like every single one of you are like, yep, awesome. Best pizza. It's really freaking good. Really, really freaking good. Let's see. No, we have not confirmed his number yet, at least not that I've seen. What would I say to Jordan Love haters? Sit back and watch. Sit back and watch. How does this impact a future Quay Walker deal? I think he's one that it probably affects a lot. I don't think he's going to get one anymore. I think two things happened. I think they gave a lot of money to, actually three things happened. They gave a lot of money to Micah Parsons. They gave a completely guaranteed fifth-year option to Devontae Wyatt, and Tyron Hopper started playing some much better football. I think that is the trifecta of doom for Quay Walker. Now, if he goes out and has like a first-team All-Pro season or something, yeah, they're probably going to get him back and figure out a way to bring him back in some way, shape, or form. But I think he's probably gone at this point. I think it'll probably end up being, Hopper and Cooper next year. Heard Micah Parsons is going to play quarterback and rush himself. Wouldn't put it past him. We are assuming Gutekunst is smart at this point. Thank you, Pat McAfee. Those Parsons edge stunts are going to hit like crack. They're going to be really, really fun. Hopefully LVN moves in the interior. He's not an edge guy, Bunny. I vehemently disagree with that. I think he's far more an edge guy than he is an interior guy, but we'll see him a little bit on the interior. Maybe he'll end up being right. Maybe I'll end up being wrong. I think he's a 90% edge rusher that you can use 10% on the inside. Really, really believe that. I do expect a snap count for Micah against Detroit. Kenny is a really good run defender, had a rough year last year. Wyatt got his second contract. He better be ready to play. I wouldn't necessarily consider that a second contract. That's a fifth-year option picked up. That's not a true second contract. I wouldn't really quite put it in that realm, but he did get that guaranteed fifth-year option picked up for sure. What do you think about Coop and Gary on the edge? Wyatt and LVN inside and Parsons over the center on pass rush. I remember hearing Cooper bulked up. Do you think he could rush off the edge still? Yeah, I mean, you can rush Cooper from anywhere. I don't view him as an edge rusher per se. You can blitz him off the edge, kind of use him as a surprise, somebody that's maybe standing up, doing some different things. Like you can do it from time to time. I do not view him as a stand-up edge rusher. Again, you can do it in some instances, but I view him as a blitzing off-ball linebacker more than like a true 3-4 outside backer, something like that. But there's going to be some really fun stuff that you do at twists and stunts with Edgerrin Cooper. Like he's going to be getting after the quarterback a lot. Not as what I would define like a true edge rusher, but a very, very intense, accurate, and disruptive blitzer is how I would kind of define him. 13-4 is possible. I think, it's a high expectation for any team. I think they have a very tough schedule. I think 12-5 is a very fair expectation for this team. All right, I'm going to get to whatever super chats we have left, and then I am going to have to get out of here. All right, starting with this one. If you're GM after this trade with a more defined window, are you making a call to Wilkins' agent or other teams to solidify defensive tackle or seeing how things go? I'm probably seeing how things go first. No, I take that back entirely. That's the wrong answer. I'm calling around the league now. I'm canvassing the league, if nothing else. I want to see what's out there. I'm not taking a look at Wilkins. I'll maybe sniff around the Wilkins situation. I wouldn't hate bringing him in for a workout and doing my due diligence on it, but that's probably not the guy that I want to bring in. And then I'm just going to kind of sniff around the rest of the league. What defensive tackles are out there? Does anyone have any interest? Is there a trade that you might be able to work out? Maybe it's a player for player trade. Maybe now you have an excess of defensive ends, right? Maybe some team is willing to take Kingsley and Igbare for a defensive tackle. Maybe that's something that you have a conversation on. Or maybe it's Enigbare and Stackhouse for a really, a much better, more established run defending defensive tackle. Is there something like that exists? or Enigbare in a fifth or something like that. Like, so I'm at least calling. And if something really catches my fancy, then screw it. I'm just going to do it now. And if not, then I'm just going to, kind of keep looking around, sniffing. And if something at some point makes sense, awesome. I don't feel like I have to do something now. I kind of want to see how it plays out. But if I feel like I can get better, even if it's incrementally better, I'm looking at ways to continually and consistently do that. King Favre, not comps, but why would Jerry trade him to a rival? Hard to believe no AFC team was interested. King Favre, this is the one thing in that entire press conference that I think I probably ultimately agree with Jerry Jones on. Okay. There are two pieces of this that you have to be very aware of. The first one is if you as a team have come to the conclusion that this is not a player that is worth that amount of money to keep on your team, okay? You don't want to give him that contract. You think that inherently he's not worth that deal. Why would you be upset if a rival gave him that deal? You've already came to the conclusion that you think giving him that deal would be stupid. It would be the wrong move to make. And now one of your rivals wants to do that? That's a double bonus. You are giving them a contract that you think is not worthy, and they're having to give up other stuff to get him in the first place. So I think the first thing is that you've already come to the conclusion that there's not value for that player on that contract. So why would you care if one of your rivals wanted to do it when you already think that that's a really bad idea for some team to do? Let them be the one that makes that bad decision, right? The second piece of it is the way that I genuinely and generally view it is if I were a GM of the team, I don't necessarily care that Micah Parsons goes to the Green Bay Packers because they're in the same conference as me. A little bit more I care about in the division, but at the end of the day, my job as GM is not to prevent the Green Bay Packers from being the second best team in the NFL. My job is to make sure, let's just say I'm the Packers GM. My job would be that to make that the Packers, and this, I'll just keep it in Jerry Jones' world. If I'm Jerry Jones, my job is to make sure that Dallas is the number one team in the NFL. If I build the best roster in the NFL, then I don't care if Green Bay with Micah Parsons is number two. We're going to go out and beat them. So I think my overarching feel is go ahead, take on this contract that we didn't want in the first place. You can be the ones that pay them that much money, which we think is a bad mistake. And then we're going to get all of your stuff. And we're ultimately focused on being the best team that we can be. You go have fun. I don't care what you do. I don't care what any of you other teams do. It's irrelevant to me. You're going to put together good teams no matter what. I need to make my team the best, better than anyone else's, better than 31 other teams. Doesn't matter if the second best is in the same conference or the same division. I just need to make sure that my team is ultimately the best one. And I feel like this trade is what helps me get to that level, that gets me that number one team. Then I don't really care that they're going to an NFC team or anything like that. That's the one thing I agree with him. Now, I don't agree with his overall logic. I think Micah Parsons is more than worth that contract. I do not think that they are getting better by necessarily making this deal. I don't believe in all of his other logic here, but I have no issue with the logic of like, hey, it's an NFC team. I don't care what they're doing. I'm focused on my own house. I need to make, like, if somebody else down the yard is building an amazing house, but at the end of the day, mine is still the best. Cool. Mine's still the best. You go put up that fence or do whatever you want to do. I want to make sure that I'm taking care of my house first. Bruce Bowler, new member. Thank you so much for that. Whalers 860. The issue last year wasn't defense. It was offense. Yes. In a year where Jordan Love was hurt the entirety of the year. There were a couple, leaky issues. Josh Myers was at center. That's a major issue. Lowest graded player on offense for me. And some of your established receivers dropped every pass known to man. I'm not expecting that. And by the way, there were still like a top 5 offense in DVOA. If Jordan is healthy and your receivers just don't drop some of the most egregious passes in the history of the NFL, this is probably the number one offense in the NFL. Just those two things alone. Nothing else. Nothing else. Just don't drop egregious passes like that were sort of like passes that were very obviously catchable, and have Jordan stay healthy. I think honestly they're the number one offense in the NFL last year. Like that's the crazy difference. So hopefully Jordan can stay healthy, and hopefully wide receivers decide to catch the ball this year. And I would have more concern over that, except in 2023, it wasn't a problem at all. So let's hopefully that they can go back to the 2023 version and not have drops be an issue again. Mark, thank you for the super chat. M.2, I still like the idea of soft retiring numbers, i.e. if someone wants to wear 15, they have to wear some patch on the jersey. Okay, I'm cool with that. I like that. This front seven makes the secondary look good. I think they can. I think they very much can, but I think the secondary can hold their own as well. Jano, so really thank you again for all the super chats. You guys are incredible. So really it's a 5-year, 210 deal, which is 42 mil per year, only 1 million more a year than TJ Watt's deal, 30 years old. Mike is 26. Well done, Jano. It's a beautiful deal. It's better today even than it was yesterday, if that's somehow possible. I have the contract is great. No issues with the contract whatsoever. In fact, again, you not only do you do that deal all day, every day, you do that contract all day, every day. Micah Parsons and Bo Melton on the same defense. Good luck. Staves games. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. It's going to be a fun team. It's going to be a fun year. I cannot wait. Can Detroit get to Green Bay already? Can we play this game? I am all set for it. We're going to have a lot for you guys. This is going to be my last live for a little bit. My next one, I do have the schedule for next week. Obviously, everything is always tentative because you never know what's exactly going to come up. But my schedule for next week for lives, Tuesday is not. Where did I go here? Give me 1 second. Okay, yes. Tuesday is going to be members Q&A looking at like 8 o'clock p.m. So 8 o'clock p.m. members only Q&A. Happy hour is going to be at 1 p.m. next week. And then we also will have the live pregame show at probably 11 a.m. on Sunday and the live postgame show whenever I get back Sunday night. So Tuesday, members Q&A, Friday, happy hour, Sunday pre and postgame shows. We'll have 4 live shows next week after doing 3 in the last, 18 hours or so. That feels maybe a little bit less or whatever, but I'll be around, guys, and I'll see you guys all very, very soon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for all the kind words. I will see you guys all very soon. Enjoy the press conferences. I'll be there, hopefully asking some good questions. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.